Welcome to our channel, everyone. I hope you're having a great day. Today I'm bringing you our tours of the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, also known as the Weston Hospital for many years in Western West Virginia. The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum was constructed between 1858 and 1881, and it's the largest hand-cut stone masonry building in North America. It's the second largest in the world, only behind the Kremlin. The Trans-Allegheny Insane Asylum ran from 1864 until 1994. The name changed from Trans-Allegheny to the Weston State Hospital in 1913. Originally designed to house 250 patients. When it was opened, the hospital held over 700 by the 1880s, between 1600 and 1700, and then by the mid-1930s, over 1800 at its peak. It was 2,600 in the 1950s. Due to the overcrowding, the beds were used 24 hours a day in 8-hour shifts. They would come and wake somebody up after their 8 hours of sleep and allow somebody else to sleep in the bed next. Here's a list of reasons you could have been admitted to the hospital when it first opened up, and some of them are very ridiculous in terms of today. Imaginary female trouble, ill treatment to your husband, laziness, for novel reading, politics, tobacco, masturbation, having a desire to be with somebody of your same sex, the war, depression, pretty much any disease, grief, greediness, somebody who likes to study, self-abuse, sexual abuse, sexual stimulation, nervousness, if you had asthma, if you had a son die in the war, you could be put in there. I mean, just any little reason that they could find, they try to put you in there. It was nothing for a husband to take his family there and drop them off due to he was no longer in love with his wife, so he would drop her off with the kids. She would pretty much spend the rest of her life there. A majority of the patients that were admitted there never left the grounds. When they died, they got a number and they were buried in the cemetery. There used to be tombstones, but there's no longer any tombstones there. But how they recognized you was you were just a number. Most family members upon death would be notified, and very few of them made an effort to claim the body. The hospital is also known for doing over 900 lobotomies. Not everybody that had one made it out alive. The Trans-Allegheny Hospital has several tours that you can take. Everywhere from paranormal to a criminal one, to history, to each floor. We chose to do the paranormal and also the criminal insanity. There's also a museum on the ground floor that is included with any of the tours that you pay for. The tour guides dress in the time frame when the hospitals ran and clothes that are usually from like the 1930s and 40s. Usually a dress and an apron with a white cap and white shoes. Some had blue dresses, but most of them had white dresses. The hospital's closed for most of the winter months due to renovating it and updating it. So keep that in mind if you plan on going there. The hospital is a paranormal enthusiast, ghost hunter, bucket list item. This is one of the places that was on Tracy's and Deb's bucket list. I want to thank Deb for allowing us to hang out with her during this day and putting up with all my shenanigans. Let the tours begin. The Trans-Allegheny Paranormal Day Tour. In the paranormal tour, they took us to all the active spots in the hospital. During the tours, the hospital asks that you don't film anything, but you're more than welcome to take all the photos that you want. One of the hospital's more well-known ghosts is Lily. She's believed to be born and died in the hospital as a young girl. She haunts the building. Many people say that she really isn't that shy. She has made herself known to many of the staff and several visitors. She'll come and hold your hand, tug on your clothes, giggle, try to steal stuff out of your pockets. She'll move the ball around on the floor. She's on the first floor near her room, just right outside of her room. Another spirit trapped inside the hospital is named Ruth. During her time while alive in the asylum, Ruth was an aggressive and at times violent older lady who has a severe dislike towards men. It is common to encounter Ruth on the first floor near her old holding cell. Another reported ghost is Dean. He is known to haunt the room he was brutally murdered in. This is on the second floor where you can hear disembodied voices warn people to get out of his room. It's also where a double suicide occurred. That same floor is haunted by a stabbing victim who tugs on people's pants while they're walking by as he's trying to ask for help. Not all spirits left are patients. There's actually a nurse who haunts the ground. Her name is Elizabeth. She leaves the doors open on the second floor as she's believed to still be doing her rounds. There's also high activity in the geriatric ward, also known as the Civil War wing of the hospital. The spirit there is known as the Creeper. There's also said to be a lot of activity on the top floor. This was the men's wing. There's a couple spirits that are friends that are supposed to try to prank people. There's some that like to play cards. There's spirits that like you to leave them cigarettes and coins. On our tour, the only activity we had was on the top floor. We did hear some giggling, a little knock here and there. It's easy to debunk because the building's old. You can hear a lot of stuff from outside, even on the top floor. So it's hard to say whether or not we actually experienced anything. But we could hear some giggling, we could hear some knocks. Other than that, we really didn't have much activity. The Trans-Allegheny Criminally Insane Tour. The Criminally Insane Tour took about 30 minutes. We got to go to the actual building. It contained all the inmates. These were inmates that were found guilty of criminal activity. Most of the inmates that were in this building you did not want with your general public of the other hospital. These are criminals, of course. The building held 125 male patients. We also learned about the 9 inmates that escaped. 9 inmates, most of them described as dangerous, escaped in the early hours of the morning on May 7th, 1953. They had an inmate act like he was under distress. When 4 of the attendants come in to take care of him, they were jumped by other inmates. Then they become hostages. They ended up putting 3 of the hostages in a seclusion room, and they let out one of the inmates that was in that room. They threatened to kill the last hostage they had unless they opened up front door. The guy manning that door went ahead and opened it up for them and set them free, and they just walked around and hung out. These weren't the only inmates that escaped this place. In October of 1955, they had 9 prisoners escape. They cut the steel netting that was covering the windows, and then they were able to push out the window, and that's how they ended up escaping. We also learned about Cornelia Wilbur. She practiced psychiatry at the hospital. She's known for her work with Shirley Mason. This was a severely abused child who developed 16 alternative personalities, and she was diagnosed with multiple personality disorder. All that psychiatric treatment that she rendered to Miss Mason ended up resulting in a book and a television film, both titled Sybil. the Trans-Allegheny Insane Asylum Museum. There's a small museum on the ground floor that is opened up that is devoted towards military history, the history of the building, mental health. The museum also includes several exhibits based on the treatments that they used to use on their patients back in the day. It takes about 20 minutes probably to go through it all and see it all. It's well worth stopping to visit. We totally enjoyed our tours at the Trans-Allegheny Insane Asylum. The tour guides were delightful, very knowledgeable. They made the experience great. I would recommend any of the tours that we took, and probably even the history one as well. I also want to thank you guys for watching. There's always an adventure, and we will see you in the next one.